In a world of fun and cool anime, every now and then one slips through the cracks. One that raises some heads and causes a little churn in the stomach, causing communities of people to riot online, causing a bit of controversy. The definition of a controversy is a disagreement, typically when prolonged, public, and heated, or in the case I'll be using, something that causes an uproar. In this video, I'll be talking about controversial anime. It doesn't mean I don't like the show or recommend it, or I want you to send hate or anything like that. I'm just sharing. Now, disclaimer warning. This video does deal with lots of heavy topics, so if that makes you uncomfortable, you can just skip this video. I'm also not going to show any footage of the examples I'll be talking about, mainly because I don't want to get demonetized, so thank you for understanding. For those of you who can stick through it, thanks for watching, and let's jump right into it. Here are my top 10 controversial anime. To start this list, I'll be talking about Goblin Slayer. The plot is as follows. In a fantasy world of monsters and adventure, similar to D&D, we follow a man simply named Goblin Slayer. He dedicates his life to the goal of exterminating all goblins after witnessing his whole village destroyed by them. The main controversy of the show has to do with the R word, not the hard R or the mental ability of someone, but for lack of better terms, forcing yourself on somebody against their will. But what made this even more messed up for people is it had to do with the title of the show, Goblins. I believe in the first 5 minutes of the show, there is a scene containing this subject matter. It happens throughout the show as well. Some YouTubers and internet celebrities started talking about it, causing people to be drawn on two sides. One side was saying it's just a show, grow up. Another side was upset that there was even that subject matter in their show. Me personally, I don't care either way. I liked the show and I thought it was cool. I like shows that push the envelope and aren't afraid to push the limit, like Berserk and other shows of that nature. Now going into a different direction of Goblin Slayer, we got interspecies reviewers. A controversial show for a couple reasons. Imagine this. 3 people go into brothels, have a good time, and rate their experience at local taverns, getting paid depending on how well they review each place. Each establishment will have a different race and experience for the party to make things different each time. But to no one's surprise, of course there's a few controversies that followed. It was more of a hentai animation than a TV show, showing explicit graphic scenes, pushing what could be produced on a regular show, making people wonder why it was even being broadcasted as an anime, causing one of the most famous dubbing companies, Funimation, to cancel the show due to its nature. So again, you had two sides. People were getting upset that it was too explicit, and then you had the degenerate side that was upset that it was getting overly censored. But oh no, there's still one more big controversy to this show. People were so upset at what Funimation did by not finishing the show, they went to a popular anime review site called My Anime List. There, they review bombed it so much it became the #1 rated show on the site. I believe also causing the site to crash as well. But luckily, the moderators of the site were able to fix the damage that was done. But I just find it really funny that people got so mad that they decided to crash a site over it. All in all, I watched the show when it came out. For the plot, I swear, it was for no other reason. Move on to the next one. Okay, now I'm going to be talking about the show Made in Abyss. But first, here's the plot. The story follows an orphan girl named Riko, who finds and befriends this boy named Greg, who is a cyborg or part robot. They go into this thing called the Abyss in search of Riko's mother, who is presumably at the bottom of the Abyss. So let's just say the Abyss isn't a nice place. Lots of dangerous creatures, plants, and even people who are down there. But this is where the controversy comes in. Like I said just a second ago, the main characters are kids, so there's lots of violence directed at them. There's also a lot of sexualization of them throughout the show, sometimes even combining both topics of these things together, causing again people to deem it horrible and that it shouldn't have been made, or people being like, it's not real, it's just a work of fiction, don't watch it if you don't like it. Again, for me, I watched this show and I did like it. Obviously not for the reasons stated above. I thought it was an interesting concept with great execution. But as you're probably starting to tell, it's people in two camps. They either like it or they don't. It doesn't matter to me. You have your own opinions and I have mine. Each is free to have their own. Okay, quick interlude. This next section all kind of follows the same topics with different twists. Bear with me. Turns out there's only so many controversies that can be covered. It's just how far some adaptations or artists are willing to go with it. So sue me, people only get upset about certain topics, it turns out. Kiss X Sis, or Kiss Sis, as it's more commonly known, is a story that follows Keita Sumino, a third-year Japanese middle school student, living with his father, stepmother, and two older twin stepsisters, Eiko and Riko. Since their parents remarried while they were young, they have always been super close and supportive of each other. Now as they are getting older, they see the opposite sex as less and less platonic, causing the girls to flirt with Keita and him resisting the urge to give in. So if you can't tell by the title of the show, the controversy for this one is incest. In lots of anime like this, it's kind of the classic go around, get out of jail free card that they use. That they're not technically blood related, they're step siblings, so it's okay. Just kidding, all jokes aside. I've never seen this show, but you guys can see why people don't like it. Mainly because it has to do with younger children who are in middle school having certain relationships. I can't give my full opinion of the show since I haven't watched it, but I can make a pretty good educated guess. Okay, imagine the plot of Kiss Sis, but take it to an 11. You got a high schooler named Natsuo, whose father was single and remarried, pretty standard and pretty normal, but Natsuo has a crush on his teacher, who he finds out is the daughter of his new stepmother. But Natsuo, being a high schooler, does the deed with this girl named Ryu, who only wanted to do him to know what it was like to gain the experience. And wouldn't you know it, she's also the sister to the teacher, so now both of them are his stepsisters. So he ends up doing both of them, creating this love triangle, going back and forth between his two stepsisters, making it all kinds of weird and awkward, overall turning it into a soap opera, which a lot of the internet deemed to be a trash one at that, harassing the creator of the story. I know Giguk, another popular anime YouTuber, likes this show, for the trash content that it is. And you know what? When I watched it, it was like a car crash you couldn't look away from. So I'll have to agree with him on this one. Again, the controversy is mainly due to the quality of the show and the harassment towards the creator, in which by no means do I condone harassing any of these creators. Ero Manga Sensei. The story follows high schooler Mazume Izumi, who loves writing light novels, but he has no artistic talent himself. So he gets his novels illustrated by an anonymous partner who goes by the pen name Ero Manga, who draws perverted images but is extremely reliable. Izumi, while trying to balance his passion and his school, lives and takes care of his younger stepsister, Saguri Izumi, a shut-in who has been in her room for over a year and constantly bosses him around despite him trying to get her out of the bedroom. Somehow, he discovers that Saguri was the artist Ero Manga, causing their sibling relationship to go to new levels of excitement, especially after a competitor enters the fray. The creator of this also made a show called Orimo, similar show with similar premise, kind of the same controversies from both. The characters are younger with incest tones, nothing happens in the show, but again, they are not technically related. They are step siblings, which makes it quote unquote okay in people's eyes. It is what it is. It's not for me to judge what's good or not. It's up to each person. But me personally, I don't watch or enjoy these types of shows. Do you love your mom and her two-hit multi-target attacks? This show follows the story of Masato Usuki, a teenager who is always embarrassed by his loving but smothering mom. One day, after filling out a survey for a game, he gets transported into a fantasy world where he's finally free of his mom. That is, until he's shocked to find out that his mom is there too, and she overshadows him in both skill and power. So having no choice, he still has to travel and stick with his mom. The controversy here is really the mom kind of being slightly incesty. New word I just made up. She wants him to find a girl in the video game, which I guess is good and nice and dandy, but there are lots of moments where the mom was accidentally groped by the son falling on top of his mother. She would show off tight or revealing clothing to her son. She was just overall way too affectionate, if you catch my drift. Also, not to mention that the son was extremely abusive to his mom, so there's that too. But you know what? I'm not ashamed to say it. I like this show. It's one of my trash anime shows. Despite its flaws, don't judge me. And guess what? The 2-hit multi-attacks are not what you think they are. They're swords. Get your mind out of the gutter. So now getting out of the incesty side of anime, we're gonna dive into a different topic. More modern one, if you will. Now before I get into this show, I don't really care about gender politics and stuff like that. I believe people should be represented and you can love whoever you want. It shouldn't matter. I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people these days. So with that out of the way, everyone has their own views and opinions. This video isn't talking about that, just what people find controversial. Okay? Got it? Everyone understanding? This is just a video talking about anime cartoons, so don't flame me. Revolutionary girl Utena follows the story of a young princess who lost both of her parents at a young age. Nothing would calm her soul until a traveling prince came by and gave her a ring with a rose on it. As long as she keeps the ring, they will be destined to meet again, thus leaving an impression on this girl, leading her to become a prince herself. Years later, she went to the Otori Academy. People recognized her ring and the rights and power it holds, so she gets dragged into a world of duelists at the academy, who are all members of the student council. They are all fighting for the ownership of the Rose Bride, who is Anthe Himimaya, who is said to possess great power and prestige. Now wanting to prove her capabilities as a prince, and enraged that Anthe is being wronged and objectified, Utena resolves to fight against these duelists to save Anthe from her cruel fate. When I was in college, I had to watch this as part of my anime class, for the topics it dealt with at the time. At the time the show was made, the controversies had to do with the LGBT themes. Whether it should be shown, if it was right or wrong, girls trying to be with girls and dressing up like guys, that type of stuff. There was also the sexualization of the characters, who were all quite young in the show, leading to it also being a massive topic of debate in the class. A great time, I can assure you. By the way, I got 99% in the class, so flex on them haters. Again, I don't have too big of an opinion on this show. I didn't enjoy it, not for the themes, but because I had to watch it and how old the show was at the time. I did learn something interesting about it though. It inspired another show called Steven Universe. Some of you may have heard of it. A show that I do like, so there's that. So again, don't flame me or come after me for mentioning the show and the themes of it. It's all lighthearted, fun, and a good time. Shield Hero follows the story of Naofumi, one of the 4 cardinal heroes summoned from Japan. He, by the title you can guess it, is the Shield Hero. He was summoned to help save the country of Belromark, which has been plagued by waves of catastrophe, destroying the land and its inhabitants. Naofumi is ridiculed for just being the Shield Hero, so he goes off and trains by himself, until he finds a girl who's willing to train with him. That person is Multi, who he ends up getting betrayed by and accused of taking advantage of her. Remember the R word I mentioned earlier? Yeah, that came up again. So now Naofumi begins a journey to strengthen himself and his reputation. He gets tired of being alone, so he buys a demi-human slave to accompany him on his travels. The show's controversies, if you couldn't tell, have to do with certain allegations made towards the main character. Later in the show, it's proven to be false, so that's good. Still stirring the pot though in the anime community. Then there's also slavery in the show. I don't know if that's a controversy or not, but more importantly, child slavery, which for some reason has become a plot point in other anime isekai shows. So that's great, at least the slave girl turns into an adult, but oh wait, she's still technically 10, but her body just aged because she leveled up, making it a-okay. All jokes aside, I watched the show but wasn't too impressed by it. For me, the show is just trying to be edgy for edgy's sake. There's also a bird mount that turns into a little girl and calls Naofumi daddy or papa, so if that's your thing, go nuts. Last but definitely not least, there's Boku no Pico. Now I might be cheating a little bit on this one, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if this show is a hentai or an anime. I know there's OVAs and like people talk about it and stuff like that. What I do know for certain is that this show has been a joke since it came out. The common joke was people would use this show to prank people getting into anime. Oh, what's a great anime recommendation? Boku no Pico, 10 out of 10. Now let me read you the plot and you'll see why. Boku no Pico is about an upbeat and effeminate boy named Pico, shocker, who works at his grandfather's coffee shop, while Tomatsu is a white-collar worker looking for an escape in his mundane life. While they meet at the cafe, sparks of love and lust quickly draw both of them together. Conventional notions of age, gender, and sexuality are broken down as the pair seek carnal gratification in each other's company. So yeah, I wonder what the controversy is. A guy wanting to have a good time with a little boy, two males being together, boys dressing like girls. I'm gonna use modern terms so I don't get demonetized. It's mainly a person who's attracted to minors, or MAP. Just think of the P word when I mention that. I've never seen the show in its entirety, just clips of it and what other YouTubers mention about this show. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I do not have the need or the desire to see anything like that. I did, when I was younger, like the opening though, but now I'm afraid to actually see what the translations are and what it's saying. Also, an honorable mention I could have added was Redo of Healer, which is a show that kind of combines all the previous topics into one. But that whole show was bad, and there's not too much to say that I haven't already said throughout this video, so take that as an honorary number 11. So there we have it. That was my top 10 anime controversies. Probably created some for myself as well. So if you liked the video, please like and subscribe and all that jazz. Thank you for watching. I've been Boog the Goob. Peace.